Right now on Morning News Now, President Biden doubling down on his bid for re-election.
Legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started. I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
But a big blunder involving his own vice president's name could keep Biden from convincing his critics he can win against former President Donald Trump in November. All this as Trump pushes forward with his campaign meeting with a controversial world leader. We have team coverage. Also this morning, cruel summer. Millions of Americans bracing for another day of record-breaking heat, with heat alerts in effect across the country. We are tracking the sweltering conditions as we head into the weekend. And from the heat to a different kind of cool. New numbers show inflation in America is slowing down, a sign that interest rate cuts could be coming. We'll break down the data and what it means for you. Plus, grab your popcorn. That's right, it's Friday, and that means a variety of new movies and shows are out with options for everyone, from horror fans to sports lovers. And guess who's back? Back again. Eminem is out with his first album in 4 years and killing off his infamous alter ego. We'll talk about the death of Slim Shady in today's Can't Miss list.
You can't. Like a big development for Eminem.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I just had to say it, to tune.
Exactly. That's the only way you can do it. Good
Thanks.
to have you with us. It is clearly Friday.
Woo.
I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Saunders. We're going to begin our show this morning with the ongoing concerns over President Biden's candidacy for re-election following yesterday's closely watched news conference at the NATO summit in Washington.
He provided detailed answers to several policy questions, but the president also made a couple of verbal gaffes yesterday that allowed questions about his fitness to serve to persist. In one moment, the president mistakenly called his vice president Trump instead of Harris. And during an event before the conference, Mr. Biden incorrectly introduced Ukrainian President Zelensky as Russian President Putin, which he immediately corrected. The stumbles appear to have put more pressure on President Biden, with at least 3 more House Democrats calling on him to step aside. It's worth noting former President Trump has also conflated names on the campaign trail this year, including mixing up President Biden with former President Obama. Now, despite these concerns about Mr. Biden, the president struck a defiant tone yesterday, saying he is still the right person for the job.
I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake. I believe I'm the best qualified to govern, and I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too. But it's awful start from scratch. And, we talk about, money raised. We're not doing bad. We got about $220 million in the bank. We're doing well.
We've got a team standing by to talk more about all this and the state of the race. We're going to start things off with NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. Ali, the stakes probably could not have been higher. Walk us through some of the key moments from the president's news conference yesterday. I mean, was this the kind of performance the White House hopes will calm some of the fears surrounding Mr. Biden's candidacy?
Yeah, guys, good morning. Well, the White House was certainly hoping so. And the big question going into last night was really whether this would move the conversation, whether this would move the needle at all in the right direction for the Biden team. And you have to think the bar was set so incredibly high that the thinking was, the president could hit it out of the park and there would still be those doubters, those nervous Democrats calling for him to step aside. And there were real fears at the beginning of this press conference that it would go south because of what you mentioned, with the president confusing Ukrainian President Zelensky with Russian President Putin shortly before this press conference even started. And then shortly after it started, he flubbed the name of his own vice president. Listen to that part here.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one, the fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
Some other highlights from that press conference last night: the president said that he would be willing to take a neurological exam if his doctor suggested it, but he said that none of them have, but saying that even if he did, that no one would be satisfied. He also said that he's not in the 2024 race for his own legacy. He says, "I'm in this to complete the job I started." But the consensus after this almost hour-long press conference was that essentially, once again, the president has bought himself more time, similar to what he did with the ABC News interview and those campaign trail swings throughout last week. And that's just not what some Democrats want to hear, considering that every day the president remains in this race is a day that those nervous Democrats lose in being able to find a viable backup option, you guys.
Although the Biden campaign is trying to strike this optimistic tone publicly, we are hearing different things happening behind the scenes. What is NBC News learning here?
Yeah, the Biden campaign is saying that the president did a great job at proving his doubters wrong last night. But privately, it's a different story. We know that several of President Biden's closest allies, including 3 people directly involved in his reelection effort, are telling NBC that they see his chances at being reelected as 0, and that his candidacy and his remaining in this race is endangering the political futures of Democrats down the ballot. They said, quote, "He needs to drop out." From one campaign officials, they said he will never recover from this. Another person saying, quote, "No one involved in the effort thinks he has a path." And of course, all of this is coming as the campaign continues to try to ease the fears of these nervous Democrats. We know several senior Biden campaign advisors were on Capitol Hill yesterday meeting with Senate Democrats, proving to them that there is a path to victory at the end of all of this. And several senators came out of that meeting saying they were not convinced, you guys.
I mean, we do understand the Biden campaign has started to quietly assess the viability of Vice President Harris as a possible replacement candidate. What more can you tell us about that? Are there people who think that she does have a better chance than the current president?
Yeah, we learned yesterday that the Biden team is quietly assessing her viability in a head-to-head matchup against former President Trump, but it's not exactly clear the reason for this. One source familiar says that it could be because they know that the Trump team is preparing to seize on this opportunity and really ramp up its attacks against Vice President Harris. And we've already seen that happen last week during a rally that he held in Florida. And the other set of thinking is that this would be able to really convince the president in these head-to-head matchups, whether the vice president polls better, potentially worse, or even the same as him in these head-to-head matchups. And we know that there's a very small circle of people around him right now really backing up his decision to stay in the race. So whether what impact those polls have on that conversation is going to be something to watch, you guys.
All right, Ali Rafa, appreciate your reporting. Thank you.
Now let's head over to our other favorite, Ali, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale, for more on the reactions from Congress. Ali, good morning. So we heard from plenty of lawmakers in the moments following this lengthy press conference from the president. Tennessee Congressman Steve Cohen was one of the few who felt Mr. Biden solidified his candidacy. Let's first listen to that.
I think he convinced a lot of people he should stay in the race. I haven't heard anybody speak so much and so well and so knowledgeably about foreign policy since maybe, I don't know, back in the World War, Dean Rusk. I mean, he knows his stuff, and that's one of the main jobs of the president is foreign policy, and there's nobody could be better.
So put those comments in context for us. Are most Democrats sharing those views?
Not really. And there's definitely not a consensus here, Savannah. And for those who might not know who Dean Rusk is, because it's a pretty obscure reference from the congressman, it's a former Secretary of State from the Kennedy and then LBJ administrations. Again, if you're trying to make the point, I think that Democrats really have to find a way to make the point here. But look, in my conversations yesterday, even when we started the day together, I had been told by lawmakers there will be more of my colleagues coming out and saying the president should step down. Certainly that rang true as we saw more Democrats added to the list of total House Democrats that we've seen telling the president that he should step aside. You're showing polling on the screen there that shows a plurality of voters, Democratic voters, who feel the same way after that debate. But the fact is, press conferences like this one, it's sort of a mixed bag in terms of what electeds are saying and what our sources are saying in terms of the fact that, yes, there were some mistakes, but there was also a clear command of complex issues like foreign policy. Biden had flares of moments where he talked about gun violence as a scourge in this country. Certainly, that's the kind of messaging that Democrats want to see. And I have to tell you, they are so desperate to see it because there is not one person in the Democratic ranks that I have spoken to who hasn't said some version of, I love Joe Biden, but I have concerns about electability. I have concerns about his ability to carry the message. Each moment that the president has now is going to be under a microscope, and you can't keep living in this space. And Congressman Jim Himes, when he came out last night and said he thinks the president should step aside, this is a point that he made. You can't jump from presidential event to presidential event and make each one this inflection point, this precipice of a moment that the president has to prove himself. You can't keep having Democrats try to grade the president on a curve, and that's why this has become such a protracted battle. And frankly, I've asked lawmakers, guys, how much longer can you do this without utterly hobbling your nominee, who is Joe Biden at this point? And none of them have an answer. It's this continuous timeline of fretting with no end in sight. That's not good for anybody.
Ali, let's talk a little bit about what happened in the Senate yesterday. 3 top Biden advisors met with Senate Democrats for just under 2 hours, outlining what they believe is his path to victory in November. What else are you learning about that meeting?
Well, look, senators came out of that meeting and said they were asked not to talk about it. But you and we all know if it went well, senators would have been out there crowing about it, and no one would have had any qualms with the fact that those leaks were happening. Instead, what we did end up hearing from senators in a limited capacity was that this was a heated exchange where multiple senators either came out and said that they didn't feel that they were any more reassured. Some came out and said that they did feel good, but many of those were the ones that went in saying that they supported the president. There were heated exchanges, according to our sources, over the path to victory, really trying to get these advisors, these top advisors to the Biden campaign, to show them how this works. I think it's important for us to say a lot of these Democrats really want to hear this. They would like to feel reassured in the fact that Biden is the nominee. And I think they came out of that Senate meeting not necessarily hearing that. And so, again, we go into a moment where physically lawmakers are no longer on the Hill. They're on recess for another week, but that just drags this out for another week potentially. And there's an open debate on whether or not it's better to have lawmakers in the Capitol making these declarations. Are they more likely to make it when they get home? All of that, I've heard different sides of the coin from different people. But this is just going to continue on in this similar fashion until someone in leadership says, all right, we've done enough. Let's cut it out.
Ali Vitale, great reporting. Thank you very much.
Let's talk about the Trump campaign now. We're joined by NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. So I'm being asked a lot of questions right now about Project 2025. It's this very conservative plan for a second Trump White House term. Trump is distancing himself from it. He says he doesn't know who's behind it, but there are connections to people who know him well. Tell us more about your report.
Right. Project 2025, excuse me, Project 2025 is a more than 900-page policy roadmap that would be able to be turned over and handed over to a second Trump administration, essentially to enact policies and add on personnel from every department and agency. It also has the reality that some of the key authors of this project are individuals who were former advisors and aides to him inside of the White House. And Donald Trump, in fact, in 2022, at a Heritage Foundation dinner, he made the clear statement that this was the group that was going to be laying out the groundwork for what a second Trump administration would look like in their plans. And one of the authors of Project 2025 is also an author of the official GOP platform that is going to be voted on next week here at the Milwaukee Republican National Convention. So for Donald Trump, a great number of these folks, including like Ben Carson, his former secretary in his cabinet, he was another one of these authors here. But this is a policy book that some of the policies, like on abortion, Donald Trump is understanding of are not necessarily popular with the majority of Americans. And he has an election to win 4 months from now. But the folks that are behind this, there's more than 100 conservative groups. And for them, they see this as a great basis for a launching pad for the Trump administration come January 2025.
Also, let's ask you about one piece of news from yesterday. The former president met with the prime minister of Hungary. at Mar-a-Lago. Why did that happen, and what are the takeaways?
Viktor Orban is a unique figure in terms of being a NATO member ally. He is somebody who has promoted the idea that a liberal democracy, has urged the cutting off of financial aid to Ukraine, has resisted the expansion of NATO to add on additional members. Donald Trump has called him the boss and has said that he is the smartest leader that he knows. This is the second trip to Mar-a-Lago that Viktor Orban has made. And of course, Donald Trump has openly questioned whether the U.S. should send continued financial aid to Ukraine. The two men did meet at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Of course, this was happening parallel to the NATO meetings that President Biden was a part of in Washington, D.C. But if there were to be a second Trump administration, Orban is somebody who concerns many who are opposed to Donald Trump because of the way that he has used greater executive power in Hungary during his term as prime minister here. And Donald Trump has said and acknowledged that if Viktor Orban says something in this country, it gets done. Many people have fears that Donald Trump would try to use the White House in a similar manner that Viktor Orban has in Hungary.
All right, Vaughn, thank you so much. Appreciate your reporting.
Well, this morning, the dangerous heat wave roasting parts of the U.S. is getting worse. The record temperatures now being blamed for nearly 40 heat-related deaths across the country. Out west, it's so hot. You can see here some people in Arizona are cooking their breakfast outside. And in Texas, where 1 million people who were in the path of Hurricane Beryl, they still don't have power. So some residents are choosing to sleep in their cars just to get air conditioning. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is on New York's Coney Island, where triple-digit heat is expected next week.
Hey there. Well, the heat we're expecting is the kind where officials are urging people to drink water every 15 minutes when they're outside, and it's not expected to ebb. In fact, those high temperatures are expected to continue to spread in the coming days. For the more than 1 million Americans that are waking up without power, without AC this morning, the situation is turning dire. Across the country, there are nearly 40 deaths blamed on the heat. Out west on social media, you're seeing people demonstrating it's so hot that they can actually cook their breakfast outside. In Texas, hundreds of thousands of people are expected to remain without power as a result of the remnants of Hurricane Beryl for another several days. They've already been dealing with those heats, and the hospital systems down there have been reporting a surge in heat-related illnesses. So there's pressure mounting on the power company's center point there, but it points out that while it understands the difficulty and the frustrations from residents, it has restored power to 1 million customers faster than it ever has. In the Northeast, a bit of a different problem. The remnants of Hurricane Beryl bringing an immense amount of rain over the last couple of days and some reported tornadoes. In Vermont, for instance, the National Guard even activated, helping with more than 100 water rescues. This comes exactly a year after it saw similar catastrophic flooding. Back here along New York City beaches, some have been reopened after NYPD drones spotted at least 2 sharks swimming near shore. If it's not the sharks, it's the rip currents they're warning people about. Always remember to swim near a lifeguard. And when you see those yellow and red flags, be mindful of potentially life-threatening conditions. Back to you.
Good advice, Emily. Thank you.
Now, despite record-setting heat in other parts of the country, on the East Coast, heavy rain expected heading into the weekend. For more, let's check on your Morning News Now forecast.
Angie Lastman is in studio with us this Friday. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Don't worry. We'll get to the heat. We can't avoid talking about that. But we've also got some rain that we're tracking this morning that could impact that early morning drive, and it could impact your weekend plans across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. Here's what we've got. Just some of these showers that are continuing to work their way a little farther inland. We've got Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Richmond, stretching down to Charlotte, dealing with some rain early this morning. And the flood alerts are up because of this. And we're not just going to see one day of some of this rain. This area could see multiple repeated rounds of some slow-moving storms over the next couple of days. So 18 million people included in these flood alerts. We do have a couple of flash flood warnings stretching across this area. We'll likely see more of those here as the weekend goes on. But here's why. This stationary front is stuck. It's just hanging out. It's going to kind of meander in this general area here as we get through the weekend. And that means that these slow-moving downpours, they're still in the picture, not just today, into tomorrow too, although a big batch of that moisture will move offshore and we'll see some more dry time. But still, a couple of these scattered showers will be in the picture, and that flooding will stay with us as well. There's the heat. As promised, we we've got 42 million people under these heat alerts. You'll notice, as mentioned, we still have some of those heat alerts up in parts of Texas with all those folks dealing with power outages still, and the temperatures well above normal for this time of year. And out west, really west of the Rockies, and even a couple of points east of the Rockies, we're dealing with these heat alerts. And this isn't going to change anytime soon. We're kind of stuck in this pattern. So let's start with the heat and humidity that we're going to see across parts of the southeast. 101 for Dallas today for what it feels like 97 in Houston. We've got the high 90s and the low 100s across this region. Tallahassee ends up at 101. New Orleans feels like 106. So it's going to be brutal when it comes to the heat and humidity. But out west, of course, it's not the humidity, but it's just the heat that's brutal. Palm Springs, 112. Las Vegas, 112 today. Phoenix, same story there. We've got Denver at 100 degrees. We usually only see a couple of 100-degree days in Denver per year. We've seen multiple in a row at this point, and we're going to continue to see that heat stick around at least over the weekend and into early next week for a good chunk of the country. Notice Nashville, 100 degrees both Monday and Tuesday for the actual temperatures. We've got 97 in Omaha on Monday, 102 on Monday in Wichita. So this goes well into early next week. So we'll be watching for more of these records, especially out west, to continue to be broken. Here's a look at your Saturday across the country. A couple of severe storms possible in the upper Midwest, the soggy conditions for the East Coast. A little sunshine, though, for the middle of the country by Sunday. The heat is going to be the big story, guys, but we will have a couple of spots dealing with rain across the southeast and the Great Lakes.
Right. Looks like a summer forecast right there.
Yeah,
Thank you, Angie.
Thanks, Angie. There's much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a warning to women about potentially harmful substances found in tampons, the alarming new study, and what doctors want you to know.
Up first after the break, melee in the stands. The investigation now underway after this huge brawl between Colombia fans and Uruguay players at a Copa America match. We'll be right back. We're back now with the brawl that followed an intense Copa America tournament semifinal soccer match. Just moments after Colombia earned its spot in the championship match with a 1-0 win over Uruguay, a massive fight broke out in the stands, and the melee included players from Uruguay fighting with fans who the players say were a threat to their families. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the details.
Oh, boy. And now it's boiling over.
A shocking finish to the Copa America semifinal that had nothing to do with the game. At Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, several Uruguay national team players climbing into the stands and brawling with fans. Fists and objects flying. The ugly scene, captured from multiple camera angles, came after Uruguay's bruising loss to Colombia. But the fighting did not start there. In the first half, Colombia went up 1-0. Then came this scuffle. Colombia's Daniel Munoz received a second yellow card and was sent off. His team finishing the chippy match down a man, but never conceding a goal. After the final whistle, tensions kept spilling over. Then came the fist fight. Uruguay defender Jose Maria Jimenez says the team was protecting family.
Esto es un desastre. Esto es un desastre. Nuestra familia está corriendo peligro.
Charlotte police declining to comment on the situation and deferring to Bank of America Stadium. The stadium tells NBC News tournament organizers took the lead on event logistics. Copa America organizers say an investigation has started, writing no action will be tolerated that tarnishes this global football celebration.
On Sunday, we'll see the Copa America final between the reigning World Cup champions, Argentina, and Colombia. That match is in the Miami area, and it features superstar Lionel Messi, with at least one site seeing average ticket prices around $1,300. Tonight, Miami-Dade police tell NBC News that it has planned, along with local, state, and federal partners, to keep fans and players safe.
Jesse, thank you.
Let's get you more international news now. An investigation by the Israeli military has found what it calls serious flaws in the army's response during the October 7th attacks.
NBC's Claudio Labanga joins us with that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, guys. That's right. That report essentially says that after hundreds of Israeli soldiers arrived at the kibbutz Be'eri on October 7th, they came under fire and they did not enter the kibbutz, despite the fact that civilians were still being massacred in there. Now, instead, the report says the soldiers concentrated in evacuating wounded soldiers didn't help civilians who managed to escape, and in some cases, they left the kibbutz without informing their commanders. The report also says it took more than 6 hours for reinforcements ambulance to arrive at the scene, which, of course, it was too late by then. Residents of the kibbutz welcomed the report, but want to know why so many soldiers did not intervene while people were still being massacred. Now to the latest, in the U.S. and South Korea alliance. New nuclear deterrence guidelines have been signed by the two countries to counter nuclear and military threats from North Korea. The two leaders met yesterday in Washington on the sidelines of the NATO summit, where they praised and, quote, the tremendous progress that their country's alliance has made in the past year. And we end up back here in southern Italy, where police have confiscated 42 tons of falsely labeled extra virgin olive oil. The total cost of the items reportedly add up to almost $1 million. Italian police shared a video with the tons of oil that were discovered, but authorities also confiscated 174 bottles of champagne they also suspect they were all fake. Back to you guys.
Wow, I wonder what fake olive oil.
That's what I was wondering. Like, what was it?
Vegetable oil or something?
There you go. Canola oil. All right.
Thanks, Claudio.
Coming up, a toxic discovery found in a popular product. But researchers say they found in a number of tampons and what doctors are saying about it.
And we're tracking a much-needed cool down. But we're not talking about the weather. Inflation is slowing, and that's good news for your wallet. Look who we've got. One of our favorite financial experts, Caleb Silver, here to explain what's going on and why. That's next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. New economic data out shows inflation in the U.S. is continuing to cool down, and that could set the stage for a long-awaited interest rate cut by the Federal Reserve.
The Consumer Price Index rose 3% year over year in June. That is slower than the 3.3% rate from the month before. Inflation dropped 0.1% from May to June, in the first meaningful decline in that inflation rate since early on in the pandemic.
For more on this, we're joined now by friend of the show and one half of our economic dream team, Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver. I know. Well, we are going to handle it all this morning. So, what you think?
The big D, deflation. Yeah. We haven't seen deflation, the falling of prices since.
Haven't heard that word in so long.
I haven't said it. I've been able to say it since May of 2020. Very significant because we've seen a slowing in the growth rate of inflation, but finally some price drops. Not across the boards here, but in some significant areas that make a big difference to our wallets, especially gas prices. Those finally subsided a little bit, but also lower prices for things like used cars and trucks. Those have been falling, and even airfares were lower month after month and even year over year.
And where are we compared to that peak we saw in 2022, especially in some of those categories?
Yeah, that was 9.1%, July of 2022, 2 years ago, almost exactly. We are way down in some areas, but other areas like food and shelter are higher. Shelter prices in particular up some 20% year over year. And when you think about rents around the country, those have been rising in some major cities. But we have seen some declines in places like Miami and even here in New York City. But when you look at food prices are high, right? I was just looking at juices and drinks, up 20%, eggs 10%. Different factors affecting eggs, but bacon, the whole breakfast table is a lot more expensive than it used to be. So goods prices are still high, especially in food. Services, airfares and such coming down.
So the big question now, what does this mean for the Fed? First of all, the Fed will meet in
19 days, 6 hours and 28 minutes. I'm not counting.
Are we going to get the man o'clock graphic?
I don't need one. I got it right here. That's not the meeting that we're going to see an interest rate cut. We're probably going to see one in September, and that's in 66 days, 6 hours and 28 minutes. Why? Because Fed Chair Jay Powell saying this week to the Senate Finance Committee, maybe we don't wait to get down to that 2 to 2.5% magic inflation rate that the Fed wants. That might be too late, and the Fed might have to cut to stimulate the economy. Know this, when the Fed cuts rates, it's usually because the economy is slowing, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So if the economy slows enough and unemployment keeps ticking up, we got 4.1% last month, we'll see a Fed cut in September, maybe another one towards the end of the year.
You have multiple cuts in your head. And a reminder, this will be slow as we cut the interest rates. Right. It's not going to be a lot at once.
We are not going from 5.5% back down to 2% or lower. We're going to go down to 4 to 5% next year and then 3 to 4% in 2026.
All right. Caleb Silver, as always, thank you so much.
Well, this morning we're learning new details from a first-of-its-kind study potentially impacting millions of American women. The study found that many tampons on the market may contain toxic metals.
UC Berkeley conducted this study. Researchers there say it doesn't mean people who use tampons should panic and immediately throw them out, but some doctors believe that manufacturers need to do more testing on their products.
NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel joins us this morning on this. Dr. Patel, good morning. I mean, I saw this headline, was just like, oh boy, what is this? I mean, we know how many people are using tampons. I mean, up to 80% of people who menstruate use them. Walk us through this. Which tampons were studied and what exactly was found? What kind of toxic metals?
Yeah, Savannah and Joe, this is a first in its kind study. This, believe it or not, this has never been done. So researchers, as you mentioned at UC Berkeley, basically mystery shopped and went across the United States and the UK and EU to buy different brands. They looked at 30 different tampons that represented over 14 brands. They looked at both organic and non-organic brands also, because many people are using those as well. They did not tell us what the specific brands were. So I know people want to get to that and which one should you avoid or not get. They didn't delineate which brands they were. Here's the startling statistic. They found metals in all the products, including high levels of zinc, calcium, and including cadmium, arsenic, lead in all of them in different contents. So that does raise a lot of kind of, wait a minute, what's happening? And the reason it's important is because where tampons are inserted, that vaginal skin has high absorption potential for anything that goes in it. So again, first of its kind study, pretty startling results that we found here.
Let's talk about what these findings mean. I mean, what kind of risks are posed by long-term exposure to these metals?
So I'm going to cover it from the individual to kind of the societal impact. At the individual level, what I think this means is you shouldn't panic and throw out every single tampon you have. But I do think it just begs the question just to make sure that you have some variety in the types of tampons you use, because they saw variety across all of their brands and even inside of a brand. So you may just want to change out. We also do recommend that women, while they're on their periods, do change their tampons every 4 to 6 hours. That can just help for good practice. And then at a societal level, we need to have more studies like this. The Food and Drug Administration treats tampons as a medical device and doesn't really ask for regular product checked. This is something that I would say regulatory involvement, but I wouldn't run out and just change everything. And then I think we can also try to talk about potentially alternatives to tampons, although I wouldn't rush to have everyone switch to that yet.
So, I mean, is this a situation where we should maybe think about that down the road? Are we going to learn more where alternative products become a really viable option? And tell us about some of those for people who are like, what? I've only used a tampon.
I know. Look, I have been incredibly impressed with the variety of alternative products. And let's talk about what they are. Alternatives to tampons. I just want to make sure that people know about pads. That's also been kind of a long standby for using during periods. But in addition to that, Savannah, we've got menstrual cups, we have period underwear, we have discs, all of which you can insert as the consumer. These don't need to be, something that a health professional helps you with, unless you just need advice on which one's best for you. These are great tampon alternatives. I think that if I were, as I read this study and think about it for myself, my own patients, this just reminds me that we should be open to not doing one thing all the time. And we should ask and understand a little bit more about what's happening to us and demand that these types of studies are done.
It's pretty frustrating, though, right? I mean, it's something that is the 80% of us, it's a go-to. It's just another wonderful day being a woman. Yeah. Dr. Patel, thank you very much. Good to see you. Coming up, you could call her a self-made it girl. Up next in our latest edition of Women Mean Business, my interview with the co-founder of It Cosmetics about her long road to success and the many stops she made along the way.
And it's an uncomfortable conversation, asking friends or family for the money they owe you. So uncomfortable, in fact, many folks just don't ask. So we're going to unpack the problem, what it could be costing you, maybe what you can do about it. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Time now for another interview in our series, Women Mean Business. Jamie Lima was the first person in her family to go to college, and she helped pay her way through as a waitress and a grocery store cashier. She went on to start a career in TV news with one of the best jobs, the morning show anchor. But her passion was beauty, and she worked triple-hour weeks to build a company from her living room that would become the global beauty brand known as It Cosmetics. She then sold it to L'Oreal for a whopping $1.2 billion in 2016, landing her on Forbes' list of the richest self-made women in the U.S. This year, Lima launched her own podcast with a mission to inspire women and girls to overcome self-doubt, just like she did. Her first guest, well, her next-door neighbor just happens to be Oprah. Take a look.
They are waiting on you to step into the dream. And so the goal is to ask God, what is your dream for me? Not tell God what the dream is, not tell the universe what the dream is. Get still enough to say, I am open to what the dream of my creation is for me. There is a reason why you are here. And if you can't figure it out, ask.
I'm telling y'all, Jamie Kern-Lima is definitely a woman who means business. Here's our conversation. Jamie Kern-Lima, founder of IT Cosmetics. Welcome to Women Mean Business. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. This could go on for way longer than the time we have because you're just such a wealth of information, I think, and just so many cool things to discuss with you. First, I want to ask about what I just mentioned, founding IT Cosmetics. I know you did this from your kitchen. Is that right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it started with a problem, right? I love the saying, make your mess your message, right? I love that Robin Roberts says that, but it started with a problem where I have rosacea and I couldn't find makeup that would work for me. And I just got this like gut whisper, which is how a lot of businesses start. For anyone listening to us right now, watching right now, it's like you have that whisper, you got to trust it and go for it. I launched the business. What I did not know is it would be, everyone sees the outcome today, like, oh, wow, we sold it for over $1 billion cash to L'Oreal. And that's the outcome. But the journey was 3 years of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's, teetering on bankruptcy for years, and just really trying to tune in and go, should I give up? But I kind of had that knowing, and I chose to trust that knowing, got into retail, and it's really been love of customers that have spread it and built it. Yeah. But it's really a journey of just almost doubting myself out of my own destiny so many times because everyone who's been an entrepreneur knows it can be really hard.
You tackle a lot of that in this absolutely beautiful, fabulous book, Worthy. Something that I also think is just so incredible about you, you actually have 2 books now, and I understand you're even donating the proceeds. Like, you want to help other women be able to understand how to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you and I are talking, 75% of women deal with imposter syndrome in the workplace, right?
Oh, that's
80% of girls and women don't believe they're enough. And when you believe you're not enough innately as a person, it's a lie. And so I think the time to unlearn these lies that we are not enough has come. And I wrote Worthy really for everyone who has some self-doubt to destroy, a destiny to fulfill. So yeah, I'm donating all the proceeds. I'm just so passionate. There's a quote that says, we're best positioned in life to serve the person we once were. And for me, like the person I once was, that I still struggle every day is believing I'm enough, believing I'm worthy of launching the business, of being in the room, of leading a team of over 1,000. And I think that we can learn the skill set all day long. We can do all the things as women in business. But if deep down inside we don't believe we're enough or worthy, we will sabotage our success because you cannot out-succeed your level of self-worth.
And it's the kind of book that you want to take notes in and on in the best way. Okay, quickly, I do have to ask you, though, about this fabulous podcast.
Yay!
You're like friends with Oprah. On this premiere episode, you have Oprah in this absolutely revealing, just intimate conversation, saying a lot of things that we hadn't heard before, which I imagine is sort of a precursor to what we will see throughout this season of your podcast. But tell me about launching this.
Yeah, Oprah is the first guest. We did a 3-hour sit-down interview.
3 hours with Oprah.
First time in her career. She said she's ever done this. And we go there. We go deep on a lot of topics. All of us, every person watching, so many of us have the same story. Oprah could have had a very different life had she not learned to believe she was worthy of her hopes and dreams. And we go like deep into how do you trust yourself? How do you hear your intuition? How do you really trust it? How do you live the dream your creator has for you versus listen to all the self-doubt in the world that will drown out your intuition? So I'm really excited, And
I'm telling you, if you listen to this one with Oprah, you are going to be shocked at how much she shares and just hearing her heart. It's just so cool for all of us who do have imposter syndrome. If Oprah felt that way, I can get through this. Jamie, it was so great to have you here on Women Mean Business. One of my favorite guests so far. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful to meet you. Congrats on the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Turning now to some money news. Discount retail chain Dollar General has agreed to pay a hefty fine for alleged safety violations.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Good morning and happy Friday to you both. All right. Well, yeah, Dollar General has agreed to pay a $12 million fine and improve safety conditions at its stores. The Labor Department and OSHA reaching a settlement with the retailer, resolving allegations including blocked emergency exits and fire extinguishers, unsafe storage, and electrical panels that couldn't be accessed. Dollar General will be required to reduce inventory and improving stocking to prevent hazards and hire more safety managers. Meanwhile, X is working on a downvoting feature, which is similar to a dislike button. TechCrunch reports it will be used to improve how replies are ranked on the social media platform, formerly known as Twitter. That could prevent users from posting content specifically designed to make people mad and trying to generate dislikes as a form of engagement. And guys, it is National French Fry Day, and you can find plenty of deals at fast food chains everywhere. McDonald's, for one, is giving away a free order of medium fries through the app today with any purchase of $1 or more, and any size order of fries tomorrow with no purchase necessary. Members of Burger King's Royal Perks program can get a free order of any size fries with a purchase of $1 or more today and every Friday the rest of the year. If you buy a nacho fries lover's pass at Taco Bell for $10, you're entitled to a regular size order for the next month. And Wendy's has been running a free fries on Friday promotion since April with any purchase in the app. Oh my God, fries sound really good right now.
Wait, Taco Bell has fries?
I also, they're like nacho fries,
that
but
is news to me.
you were supposed to dip them in cheese, I think.
Ooh, I would totally do that.
There you go. All right.
That sounds amazing.
There we go. Breakfast on a Friday. All right. Savannah, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Coming up, it's Friday. That means it is time for your can't miss list.
That's right. A lot of new movies and shows are out just in time for the weekend, so grab your popcorn and come right back. This is Morning News Now.
Welcome back, or should we say bonjour. The Paris Olympic Games kick off exactly 2 weeks from today, and the U.S. gymnastics team will be heading to the mat, ready to make the whole place shimmer, literally. Ooh. For the first time ever, we got to check out the new gymnastics uniforms before their Olympic debut. You can see the women's team checking them out earlier this week. The Leos by GK Elite feature 47,000 Swarovski crystals spread across 8 different styles. The specific leotard you're looking at now, the Luminous Legacy, there you see it, reportedly has more than 10,000 crystals on it. The designer says the collection draws from a fusion of old Hollywood glamour and Parisian high fashion.
Oh, cool.
It's also the first year the uniforms feature pearls, another special nod to the City of Lights. And then they get flipping in the lights.
I know,
it'll be
very cool.
Yeah.
Do you know about your Taylor Swift reference there?
Yes, I was given a heads up about it. I don't think I nailed it, but
no, you did.
If you picked it up, then great. All right, Friday, time for your can't miss list. We've got something for everyone.
Whether you're looking to catch this summer's latest horror flick, if you need something to listen to, or if you're missing the NFL season.
NBC Entertainment contributor, founder, and CEO of Pop Viewers, Chris Witherspoon, joins us now. All right, so we've got a new horror thriller critics are saying is especially disturbing, which is saying something for a horror movie. What should we know about it?
Yes, it's called Long Legs. It stars Nicolas Cage. It's in theaters today. He plays this serial killer being hunted down by the FBI. But he plays this person who people are calling the scariest kind of like villain right now that we've seen in over a decade. They put this in front of test audience, and they said that the performance is so off-putting that it might scare viewers off, but it kind of gives you Silence of the Lambs vibes mixed with that movie 7 that came out years ago. So scary. I'm not seeing it, but I'm here for it.
Okay, I want to see it.
What does that mean, though?
I applaud the performance. I'm proud of him. He's stretching himself, but I will not be going to see this.
The box office won't be going up.
I don't think so. No, not with my money.
I love when we just I don't know, just something new from Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
It's always like, what's it going to be?
Like, come on.
Do you think they were just like
treasure than this?
Do you think they were just like, just be you?
Yeah.
Right? That's what they got.
It's kind of scary. I've met him before. He's kind of scary in real life.
I'm sure he's lovely. I've never met him. I don't know.
Okay, let's take it to something much less scary that does not include Nicolas Cage. A space rom-com. Fly Me to the Moon.
Rom-com, yes. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum. It's about this conspiracy to fake the Apollo 11 moon landing that happened back in 1969. And she plays this PR maven who's kind of set out to sell the moon and kind of reinvigorate interest in NASA. But it's kind of cool. She's starring alongside Channing, but her real-life husband, Colin Jost, is also in the film, which is amazing. People are loving this movie, though.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's a good. We saw the promotion for it. We were kind of like, I was definitely intrigued by it. I wanted to know about it. All right, Sing Sing with Coleman Domingo, who of course is huge right now. You actually had a chance.
I had a chance to interview him. You guys can watch the interview over on popviewers.com. But the movie is such a great film. He plays this real life, person who's incarcerated, who heads up a music program that takes place in Sing Sing, a musical theater program. But he's starring alongside in the movie, you guys, alongside real-life formerly incarcerated people.
Wow.
These are not actors.
Wow.
And a really cool business model also where they're giving the actors equity and they all got paid the same rate. So Coleman Domingo, Oscar-nominated actor, got paid the same as all the cast and all the crew. So it could be a new way of doing films and kind of like fixing the pay disparity we hear about in Hollywood.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty amazing. Okay, let's talk about what's streaming. Something I am really into, actually, Netflix's Receiver.
Yes.
I love, they like make the best like highlight reels of a game. I'm like, why can't this be like what watching a football game is? And I love when you see their families.
You know, there was a show that came out a couple of years ago called Quarterback. This is like a spinoff of Quarterback. It's really showing what it is to be a receiver, all the injuries, the personal lives, all the drama. It's following 5 receivers, Devontae Adams, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Justin Jefferson, produced by Peyton Manning. But I love the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders one. So to me, this is like the great follow-up for that. Yeah. I'm not a big football fan, but I'm into this show.
I'm so into it, too.
Right?
I love
So
George and Claire Kittle. Oh, love them. I'm so into it.
We need to get to 2 in the next minute here. So real quickly, let's talk about Apple TV, a boy navigating middle school and superpowers.
This, you know, puberty comes with superpowers this time. He's in middle school. He develops these superpowers. He can shapeshift. He can turn into other people. All 10 episodes are out right now. Such a great one. And then also some music, right? We're talking about music.
Oh, yeah. Eminem, give it to us.
Eminem is back. Guess who's back? Shady's back.
Okay, thank you.
Or is he?
Come on. Yeah, it's called The Death of Slim Shady. It's his 12th album. He put the single out, Houdini. It's burning up the tracks, #2 on Billboard. But it's all about him killing his alter ego. He got in a lot of trouble with Slim Shady down through the years. It was him trying to kill the alter ego. But I think fans are just like, they're going to eat it up. They love anything that he does.
What do you think of what you've heard so far?
It's so good. 19 tracks, you guys. So people are intrigued for a huge kind of like robust offering for the weekend. But the music is good, and I feel like he just knows who he is. He knows how to like sell us that Eminem, Slim Shady vibes.
But he knows he's not Slim Shady anymore.
Apparently. And then he's trying to cancel himself. That's the whole goal with this album.
There you go.
He's so intriguing to me. Like, the music is obviously he's so talented.
Swap me out for Eminem.
Him and Nicolas Cage can come on and we can see what happens.
I like that idea.
The
Can I get a
invitation is
leotard
there.
too, by the way? I want a leotard.
With all the pearls.
Yeah, can you guys give me one?
We will put in a request.
If we do, the next time you do can't miss, let's just
hey,
the only thing you're allowed.
Chris Witherspoon, thank you. Appreciate it. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now on this Friday. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, on the ropes, President Biden's reelection campaign takes another hit after some of his closest allies say he has no chance of beating former President Donald Trump. Despite making a couple of verbal gaffes at yesterday's high-stakes news conference, the president remains bullish, saying he's not done yet.
I've got to finish this job because there's so much at stake. I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win.
We've got all the reaction to the president's performance and where this leaves the Biden campaign. Also this morning, the nationwide heat wave turns deadlier, with dozens now killed as temperatures continue to break records across the country. In triple-digit Houston, hundreds of thousands of people still don't have air conditioning following the power outages caused by Hurricane Beryl. We'll have the latest on the extreme weather that is gripping the nation. Dramatic scenes at Alec Baldwin's Rust shooting trial, the Hollywood actor abruptly leaving the courtroom while the special prosecutor was speaking. More on that moment as the film's armorer prepares to take the stand. Plus, all bets are off. The Mirage Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas closing its doors after 35 years, but not before it makes a hefty payout. We're going to look back at the iconic Sin City venue and what's next for this Vegas property. Good to have you with us. We're going to begin this hour with President Biden's re-election bid. More House Democrats are calling on him to step aside following yesterday's closely watched news conference.
Yeah, with the spotlight firmly on the president following his performance at the debate, Mr. Biden flubbed Vice President Harris's name, but gave detailed answers to multiple policy issues. However, in a new blow to the president, some of his closest political allies tell NBC News they now believe he has no chance of beating Donald Trump in the election. In a few moments, we'll hear from NBC NBC News political analyst Chuck Todd. But before that, let's get out to our chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander, in Washington with the latest. Peter, good morning.
Good morning to you. Even as that news conference was winding down, a Biden aide texted to say if this Joe Biden had shown up for last month's debate, they wouldn't be in the mess they're in right now. But a top Democratic aide also texted conceding in their eyes last night's news conference is unlikely to change very much and may not be good enough to stop other Democrats who were already leaning toward urging the president to step aside. This morning, reaction pouring in from President Biden's doubters and defenders following that nearly hour-long news conference in which he insisted he can do the job for another 4 years.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
While also saying other Democrats could win the election.
But there are other people who could beat Trump, too. But it's awful start from scratch.
The president pressed on whether he would get out of the race if his team told him Kamala Harris was more likely to beat Donald Trump.
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
President Biden complimentary about his vice president.
This was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a first-rate person.
But with anxious Democrats and eager Republicans watching every word with increased scrutiny on the president's abilities, his answer to the very first question drawing attention when he misspoke.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Former President Trump and his allies immediately seizing on that mistake. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism from tonight?
Listen to him.
It came after a similar misstep earlier in the day while introducing Ukrainian President Zelensky. But that time, he caught it.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
President Biden again was asked whether he'd take another neurological exam, not ruling it out in the future.
I am not opposed if my doctors tell me I should have another neurological exam. I'll do it.
And aiming to combat the age issue, responding to previous reports that he said he needed to go to bed earlier.
It'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. Instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock.
While lashing out at Mr. Trump.
And where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball?
The president demonstrated a command of complicated foreign policy challenges and touted his accomplishments at home as well.
Can you name me somebody who's got more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years?
The reviews from concerned Democrats mixed. Immediately after the news conference, 3 more calling for the president to step aside.
What Americans feel in their bones right now suggests not only that Joe Biden would lose this race, but that he or we would lose the Senate and the House.
Other Democrats satisfied.
I think he convinced a lot of people he should stay in the race.
President Biden's plans to quiet his critics.
I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears by let them see me out there.
To keep trying to allay those fears today, President Biden heads to Michigan for a campaign event. And then next week, he'll travel to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. As for that mistake, briefly mixing up Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's names, the president responded to Mr. Trump's online attack, writing, "By the way, yes, I know the difference. One is a prosecutor and the other's a felon." Back to you.
All right, Peter, thank you.
Let's bring in NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd. So, Chuck, as we said, the stakes were high, the reviews were mixed. What are the takeaways from the news conference last night?
Well, look, the issue isn't whether he understands what he needs to do for the job. The issue isn't whether this is a winnable election. It is, and the polling shows it. The question is, does he have the ability to do what it takes to win the election? And that's the question he hasn't been able to answer. That's the question that the Democrats I talk to basically keep coming back to. It's like, okay, great. And if he had done this at the debate, everybody would have been okay with it. But this has been the problem that Democrats have been quietly complaining about for 3 years about this president, is that Does he have the ability to sell what he's doing? Does he have the ability to go out there? And what happens if there's a flub in mid-October type of thing? And, you know, it's sort of like there's already blood in the water here. And so I think that's why that's why this press conference, while he was certainly, you couldn't picture Donald Trump handling all these foreign policy questions. And I think that's a fair thing for the Biden campaign to say. But the question is, can this guy go out on the stump and sell the public? And he's not been able to show that.
Chuck, I'm not sure there's anybody more well-sourced than you are in Washington, and I think what people are wondering is what we're hearing from people out in front of the public when they're in front of a camera. Is it really what they're thinking behind the scenes? Is it really what they're saying to their colleagues? And we do have some NBC News reporting that people who are even involved in efforts to re-elect the president don't see a path for him beating the former president. Tell us more about that and what is happening behind closed doors.
Well, and then that's the issue. It's sort of like, yes, you can look at these polling numbers and say, well, these are winnable elections. But the question is, what does it take to do it? And you start to look inside these numbers, and, you know, we're going to have some polling coming out in a few days ourselves. When you look underneath it, you have a demoralized Democratic base. They're not enthused. The Republican side is enthused. That's why Jim Himes is coming out there and saying, hey, you know, we're going to lose the House and the Senate. And it's because it has a trickle-down effect, right? No matter how close things are, you know, he's the leader of this ticket. I'll say this. I think that this isn't going away. It may take longer, but I think this is going to be a constant conversation throughout the month of July. I don't know how the party pulls back from this. I mean, it really is divided almost 50-50 about whether they should rally behind him or whether they should try to find another candidate. And I don't know how you put that toothpaste back in the tube.
As Peter pointed out, the president was very complimentary of Vice President Harris last night. We've learned the Biden campaign has quietly been assessing her as a potential candidate. Right. What should we read into that?
That's what we're looking at. I mean, I think there's realism in the Biden campaign. While you have the tight inner circle that is, you know, full bore for Biden, almost everybody else is sort of like, okay, what's plan B? And Kamala Harris is plan B. There is no plan C. All right, there's really nobody else. This is either going to be Biden or it's going to be Harris. If he decides to step aside, I think you will see a quick coronation of the vice president as the Democratic nominee. But for something that I thought before the press conference could happen in the next 72 to 96 hours, I think now, if this happens, we're looking at weeks, not days.
All right. Chuck, Todd, great to have you with us this morning. Thank you for joining us.
All right, guys.
Well, turning now to Milwaukee, where police are finalizing their security strategy for next week's Republican National Convention.
It's the first time since 2016 the city is hosting the major political event, expected to draw a crowd of nearly 50,000 people. NBC News correspondent Shaq Brewster got a firsthand look at the preparations.
A major security challenge for the city of Milwaukee, now just hours away. Large metal fencing blanketing downtown, forming a massive protective zone around the arena where Donald Trump,
I love Milwaukee,
is set to accept the Republican presidential nomination for the third time. We join Chief Jeffrey Norman as he made rounds with the Harbor Patrol Unit.
How long have you been preparing for the RNC?
Approximately about a year and a half, 2 years.
Planning that included at least 16 federal, state, and local agencies. 50,000 people are expected to flock to Milwaukee, including delegates and media, law enforcement, and protesters, who this week lost an extended legal battle to protest within sight and sound of the arena.
The biggest organized protest is set to begin outside of the secure area, but the protest organizer tells me the group will march into this so-called soft perimeter up to the main barrier where credentials and a security screening would then be required.
Exercising First Amendment right. Don't destroy anything. Don't touch anybody in violence. That's not going to be accepted in our city. Absolutely not.
The Secret Service taking the lead inside the perimeter, with the Milwaukee Police Department responsible for everything else.
We can't plan for everything, but we do have a lot of plans. A lot of resources.
The department is leaning on tens of millions in federal grants to bring in additional officers and pay for new equipment, including a $1.3 million mobile command center and riot gear like gas masks.
The amount of protests that we've had this year has given us a lot of practice.
From recent protests over the war in Gaza to NBA championship celebrations. When crowd control is needed in Milwaukee, the Major Incident Response Unit is called in.
Milwaukee's been here before. We have a large Juneteenth celebration where we have, tens of thousands of people in a very small area. So we've absolutely been here before. Our officers are well trained. They're professional.
The first traditional convention in 8 years, giving this host city a high-profile test.
Are you ready for this convention?
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Shaquille Brewster, NBC News, Milwaukee.
This morning, tens of millions of Americans are still sweltering from the brutal heat wave across the U.S., which is now being blamed for dozens of deaths. In Texas, doctors say they're growing more concerned for people's safety. More than 1 million residents still don't have power, with the heat index in Houston topping 101 degrees. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is tracking the dangerous heat for us from New York's Coney Island, where the heat index could get as high as 105 next week. Emily, good morning.
Hey there, Joe. Well, we're seeing a glimpse of relief from the heat with this rain. Flood watches up and down the East Coast, but we're expecting the blistering temperatures to continue to spread further in the coming days, as you mentioned, as more than 1 million Americans are waking up this morning without power. The situation in parts of the country like Texas is turning dire. This morning, an extreme heat wave smothering large sections of the country.
How is it 10 a.m.? and it's already 109.
Millions under alerts from coast to coast. The heat wave stifling normally cooler areas in the east.
Scorching. I'm drenched, had about 2 bottles of water already.
And as temperatures rise nationwide, so does the death toll. The heat likely contributing to at least 38 fatalities nationwide. The sun so intense, some TikTokers out west cooking their breakfast outside.
Arizona heat.
In Houston, where the heat index reached 101, hundreds of thousands are still suffering without any AC for a fifth day after Hurricane Beryl caused widespread power outages.
We literally had to sleep in our small car because it was extremely hot in our home.
Emergency rooms packed with patients suffering heat-related illnesses, putting a strain on local hospitals. Pressure is also mounting on energy company CenterPoint to get power back on. Though the company tells NBC News it's the fastest they've ever restored 1 million customers. In the Northeast, the lingering heat will only intensify next week as residents are reeling from the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. The National Guard activated in Vermont, where there have been more than 100 water rescues, a year after the region weathered similar flooding. And nearby Rockaway Beach is back open this morning after the NYPD spotted at least 2 sharks swimming close to shore using their drones. And if it's not the sharks keeping people out of the water on other shorelines, it's the rip currents. We've got those red flags signaling life-threatening conditions along this shoreline today. Officials urging people to look for the yellow and red flags. Also, always swim near a lifeguard. Joe?
All right, Emily, thank you so much.
For more on the scorching heat, let's take a look at your Morning News Now forecast.
Angie Lastman's here. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. No surprise. We are, of course, talking about the scorching heat. That's what has gotten everybody's attention out west specifically over the past week or so. We've once again got more than 40 million people under these heat alerts, mostly centered west of the Rockies, but a couple of spots like Texas, Houston specifically, still under those heat alerts through the day today. Across the southeast, it's the heat and the humidity making it feel really uncomfortable. 101 for what it'll feel like in Dallas today. We've got 96 for the feels like in Birmingham. Augusta will be near 100 for what it feels like. And that goes down through the Sunshine State as well. These temperatures are going to be, it's going to be really sticky out there. It's going to be really humid. So just heads up for that for folks in that region. Meanwhile, out west, it's been such an impressive streak of temperatures, really oppressive conditions. We've had places like Denver and Salt Lake City, which of course are at higher elevations, that are going to be past 100 once again today. We've got Las Vegas heading to 112. We've had 6 straight days of temperatures over 115 in Las Vegas. A really impressive stretch of temperatures above normal nonetheless, but uncomfortable and dangerous in a lot of these spots. Palm Springs expected to head to 112. Phoenix, similar temperature there later today. That streak continues, but we're also going to see the midsection of the country deal with this kind of heat wave as well. We've got, of course, 100 Monday and Tuesday for places like Dallas, but Wichita, Omaha, all of these spots are going to see at least temperatures into the high 90s through the weekend and into early next week, if not past 100. Notice Scottsbluff and Pueblo, both both past 100 on Sunday. We'll see 99 degrees for Monday and Tuesday in St. Louis, and Nashville and Birmingham both hit 100 as we head back into our work week. So it'll be really warm for the extended period. We're not going to see a whole lot in the way of relief for folks there, but we did get a little bit of relief when it comes to the humidity in places like the Northeast over the past 24 hours. That's not going to stick with us, though. We've still got some moisture to tap into now, and we've also got some rain that we're tracking across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, shifting into parts of the Northeast. So New York, Philly, Washington, D.C., stretching down through the Carolinas. There's some rain that we're dealing with through the day today, and unfortunately, it's going to remain a little unsettled at least through today, potentially into parts of tomorrow. So we've got the flood watches in effect. Now, where exactly it'll flood, that's really hard to predict because these are some slow moving kind of tropical downpours. So where they set up is difficult to say for sure. But either way, we have the flooding potential across a good chunk of the country. Philadelphia, Richmond, Norfolk, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, all included in that. So more than 18 million people are under those flood watches now, with a couple of spots with flash flood warnings because of this. And it's all thanks to this front that's just stuck there. It's kind of hanging out, meandering right along the East Coast. So it's going to leave it unsettled at least through today. But remember, I said we could still see some of this kind of unsettled weather for tomorrow. I think most of the moisture will move offshore, but we'll still have some of these kind of heavier downpours that will be draped across this region, specifically across parts of New England and down through the Mid-Atlantic. So heads up for that for tomorrow. Big picture look for the weekend. No surprise, hot. Severe storms across parts of the Midwest, guys. We're going to see that not just Saturday, but Sunday, too. And we'll see those sizzling highs continue across the Southeast and the West as we get into the end of the weekend. So stay cool. Try at least.
Try our best. Angie, thank you.
Thanks. Well, in New Mexico, prosecutors are planning to call Rust Armour Hannah Gutierrez-Reed to the stand today in Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial. Gutierrez-Reed is already serving 18 months in prison for her role in the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the movie's set in 2021.
Her testimony comes after an intense 2 days in the courtroom. At one point, Baldwin abruptly walking out during the special prosecutor's arguments. You can see Angela Senadella is here.
That's right. Angela, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this. So one of the main points of yesterday, which is really something we've heard about a lot ever since Alec Baldwin gave that one particular interview, his claim that he did not pull the trigger. How did that come into play in the courtroom yesterday?
Right. So yesterday, the prosecution focused on this. It's become central, but oddly not because of the prosecution, but because of Baldwin himself, his repeated saying that he didn't pull the trigger. So look, this is the most classic defense strategy in any sort of negligence case, which is what manslaughter is. And it's the blame game. It's saying everybody else is responsible, but not me. So because Baldwin explicitly has now pointed to, for example, the gun manufacturer or someone else who messed up the gun, saying it wasn't my fault, it was someone else's fault, the prosecution came out of the gate and decided to try to debunk it. They did that by putting up two witnesses who both claimed that there is almost no way this gun could have just gone off on its own. The gun manufacturer, who talked about how this went through extreme checks with the Italian government, also through the U.S. government, a customer service sales rep who said that he's never heard this happening with this gun, period. So they're just trying to debunk and say, look, whatever Baldwin says about this, it has to be pulled.
We had this moment that made a few headlines yesterday. Alec Baldwin kind of getting up while the special prosecutor abruptly leaving while the special prosecutor was speaking. First of all, is he allowed to do that? And how do judges and juries tend to view things like this? Is it a big deal?
I'm certain that his defense attorney told him afterwards, please don't ever do that again, especially in this trial, because it's all about optics here, right? The prosecution is trying to paint him as someone who doesn't follow rules, doesn't follow regulations, just has a total disregard for authority and what he's supposed to do. So in that case, all eyes are on him. Is he going to act recklessly through this trial, which would then lead to more credence with the prosecution's case, or is he going to follow the rules?
So today, this seems like it could be big news, but it depends on what we hear from her, right? Prosecutors are expected to call Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who is already serving that 18-month sentence, the armor on the film set. She's already said that she doesn't want to testify. She might plead the fifth to everything. Can she do that? And what would that then mean?
Yeah, so she can plead the fifth to anything that could possibly incriminate her. But at the same time, the judge could direct and order her to answer questions that might not involve her self-incrimination. But we saw in the opening statements kind of what both sides are trying to do with Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. So the prosecution painted her as this this really inexperienced person, and if you listen closely, painted Alec Baldwin as the lead actor, really trying to say that in a workplace like this, you could not reasonably rely on someone very inexperienced to take safety, control, and responsibility. But then the defense then painted her differently. They said, look, she just came off this movie with Nick Cage. Why wouldn't someone just rely on her? So the prosecution's trying to paint her as inexperienced. The defense will say, no, of course, reliance on her is reasonable.
All right, Angela Sanadella, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Coming up, 2 suspects in police custody following a shooting spree in Charlotte earlier this week.
We've got the latest on that incident that left 1 person dead and 2 injured. That's coming up next. We are back with an update on the deadly shooting spree that occurred in Charlotte, North Carolina earlier this week. Police say they have 2 suspects in custody, 18-year-old Carlos Roberto Diaz and an unidentified 16-year-old. Both are facing a number of charges, including first-degree murder. Officials say police began making arrests after spotting a suspicious car on Thursday with the 16-year-old suspect inside.
And there was 1 driver in the vehicle, a 16-year-old juvenile male. Also located in the vehicle was a firearm. We have reason to believe that the 16-year-old juvenile intended on continuing his violent crime spree.
The spree included 5 shootings that resulted in 1 death and 2 injuries. Charlotte police are now calling on the public for more information about the connected shootings as they continue their investigation.
Time now for some international headlines. This may sound familiar. A sizzling heat wave is hitting Central and Southern Europe this summer, some places reaching triple-digit temps.
Claudio Lavanga joins us from Rome with that and more. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Well, it's definitely very, very hot here in Europe with this new heat wave that is pushing temperatures up to 104 Fahrenheit in some parts of the continent, including here in Rome, where authorities in Italy declared a red alert on Thursday in several cities, including the capital, where temperatures reached about 100 degrees. Authorities across Europe warned people to be cautious, drive carefully, drink plenty of water, and I will add, maybe it's better a nice glass of cold white wine. Let's go to Kenya now, where after weeks of deadly protests over proposed tax hikes, President William Ruto fired almost his entire cabinet on Thursday. President Ruto abandoned plans to raise taxes after violent clashes between protesters and police left several people dead. But people continued to demonstrate, this time against corruption. In his latest attempt to calm protests, Ruto appeared on television and announced the dismissal of his attorney general and almost all ministers, and promised he will, quote, slay the dragon of corruption. And let's end this tour of the world in India, where the youngest son of the country's richest man is getting married in a style so flamboyant and ostentatious it looks like just out of a Bollywood movie. The 3-day wedding of 29-year-old Anand Ambani and his fiancée Radhika Merchant starts on Friday, but it was preceded by 5 months of celebration at an overall estimated cost of $600 million. India's Prime Minister is among those who will attend, but according to reports, other guests may include Hillary Clinton, David and Victoria Beckham, and Kim and Khloe Kardashian. Now, the press is calling this India's very own royal wedding, but to be honest, with $600 million, guy, you can buy the castle as well, where kings and queens.
Yeah, everyone gets a castle.
So,
my goodness. All right, yeah, Claudio, thank you.
Coming saying goodbye to a Hollywood legend.
Yeah, we're remembering the shining star Shelley Duvall, who passed away at the age of 75. We're going to take a look back at some of her most unforgettable movie moments. That's next. Welcome back. A Las Vegas icon is closing its doors, at least for now. The Mirage Hotel and Casino is set to be transformed into a new Hard Rock resort. But the glitzy venture is coming with some mixed emotions for Mirage fans. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is live in Sin City, inside the resort, with a little inside look at... You're in the resort, right? Morgan, good morning.
Joe, I can confirm I am inside the Mirage, and it is a scene here because I don't know if you're aware, but the hotel has promised more than $1.5 million in payouts before they close their door. And when you have a promise like that, people absolutely listen in Vegas. The property here, about 35 years young, and while some would say that's coming into their prime, in Vegas years, they're becoming ancient history. And that's why we're seeing thousands of people flood inside over the course of the last few days to grab a souvenir, take a seat at a slot machine, say goodbye. It's time to cash in those chips at the Mirage. According to Nevada gaming laws, the casino has to hand out around $1.6 million in cash and prizes. That's before the doors close for good come next week.
We heard about the big payouts.
Feeling lucky. Feeling lucky.
While others are here for the memories.
Just to see this place one more time. Right. I'm going to be sad to see it go.
When the Mirage opened in 1989, it changed the game. In a town known for gambling and all-you-can-eat buffets, Steve Wynn's Polynesian-themed resort drew in new, upscale customers with high-end rooms, an aquarium at the front desk, a dolphin tank, and a 40-foot volcano that erupted every night. All of it setting the tone for a new era of over-the-top entertainment.
Every property built since 1989 has a little bit of the Mirage. It's either emulating it or reacting to it.
The Mirage was even featured in National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. Siegfried and Roy brought their white tigers here back in 1990 and stayed until 2003, when Roy was mauled during a performance.
There were so many celebrities and sports people that came in here.
Sammy Mane's been here since day one, through the hotel's 1990s heyday when A-list celebrities were a common sight. You talk about waiting on Ali, Sinatra, Rickles.
Yes.
Were you leaving anyone out?
Well, one of our greatest time we used to have here a lot, Dennis Rodman, when he came in with Madonna.
But the sands of time keep shifting, and the Mirage's current owners have decided to start yet again from scratch.
I am 100% confident that Hard Rock will provide the new iconic property here.
And a town always looking to the future. Time to take one final bow.
When I walk out that door for the last time, I'm going to look up, look at the building and say, goodbye, Mirage. I love you.
Yeah, so many folks saying goodbye this week, guys. And as for what that future looks like, they will keep the bones of the building intact, but the new owners say it will be a full remodel. They're going to be adding 600 more hotel rooms, as well as an additional swimming pool. The big question, what happens with that iconic volcano out front? TBD, but replacing it will be a 660-foot guitar right on the strip. In fact, they're going to be moving the hotel even closer, front and center there, to such a popular, iconic place. As for when it's going to be opening, circle your calendars for sometime in 2027.
All right.
Joe?
That is quite the remodel, to put it mildly. So, all right, Market, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Feel for those fans. All right, this morning, Hollywood is mourning the loss of a silver screen legend, Shelley Duvall.
The unforgettable actress was best known for roles in several iconic movies, including The Shining, Nashville, and Popeye. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson is here with a look back at her legendary career. Ann, good morning.
Good morning. Shelley Duvall died 4 days after her 75th birthday. The cause, complications from diabetes. Though she left Hollywood decades ago, she is remembered this morning for the characters she created on film and the joy and imagination she sparked in children on television. Shelley Duvall was unique, wide-eyed and waif-thin.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
She was a distinctive presence in 1970s films.
The only word for this is transplendent. It's transplendent.
Discovered by director Robert Altman's crew in a Houston art gallery, his direction cultivated her talent in movies like Nashville.
Okay, I'm talking to someone right now.
And Popeye as olive oil to Robin Williams' Sailor Man.
He may not be the best, but he's large, and he's mine.
Yet it is this role many can't forget.
I just want to go back to my room.
Duvall is the terrified wife in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, a grueling year-long shoot.
He demanded realism, so I had to really cry for 9 months out of the year and 1 month that I was in London to do the film.
She would add producer to her resume in the 80s.
I don't think I'm ever going to really grow up. I don't think anyone does.
Her fairy tale theater starred some of Hollywood's biggest names, garnering a Peabody Award. Duvall left Hollywood in the 90s for her native Texas, telling the New York Times, "How would you feel if people were really nice, then suddenly on a dime, they turn on you?" When the world saw her again, it was in a 2016 interview with Dr. Phil. The apparent decline in her mental and physical health shocked fans. Duvall's final film would be another horror movie, 2023's The Forest Hills. An accidental actress who learned her craft and shared her talents with the world.
Now this morning, fans and celebrities are sharing their tributes and memories of Shelley Duvall, including best-selling author Stephen King, who wrote The Shining and posted on X, "Very sorry, Shelley Duvall has passed. Wonderful, talented, underused actor." And what's amazing, when you look back at her career, she got panned for her performance in The Shining.
Wow.
And now, years later, it's looked at as the performance of her career.
Oh, absolutely, an iconic role. Anne, thank you so much.
All right, coming up, she was on Forbes' list of the richest self-made women.
How Jamie Kern-Lima built IT Cosmetics into a billion-dollar brand. I'm going to get to talk to her in our latest edition of Women Mean Business. That is coming right up. Welcome back. Time now for another interview in our series, Women Mean Business. Jamie Kern-Lima was the first person in her family to go to college, and she helped pay her way through as a waitress and a grocery store cashier. She went on to start a career in TV news with one of the best jobs, the morning show anchor. But her passion was beauty, and she worked triple-hour weeks to build a company from her living room that would become the global beauty brand known as IT Cosmetics. She then sold it to L'Oreal for a whopping $1.2 billion in 2016, landing her on Forbes' list of the richest self-made women in the U.S. This year, Kern-Lima launched her own podcast with a mission to inspire women and girls to overcome self-doubt, just like she did. Her first guest, well, her next-door neighbor just happens to be Oprah. Take a look.
They are waiting on you to step into the dream. And so the goal is to ask God, what is your dream for me? Not tell God what the dream is, not tell the universe what the dream is. Get still enough to say, I am open to what the dream of my creation is for me. There is a reason why you are here. And if you can't figure it out, ask.
I'm telling y'all, Jamie Kern-Lima is definitely a woman who means business. Here's our conversation. Jamie Kern-Lima, founder of IT Cosmetics. Welcome to Women Mean Business. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. This could go on for way longer than the time we have because you're just such a wealth of information, I think, and just so many cool things to discuss with you. First, I want to ask about what I just mentioned, founding IT Cosmetics. I know you did this from your kitchen. Is that right? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it started with a problem, right? I love the saying, make your mess your message, right? I love that Robin Roberts says that, but it started with a problem where I have rosacea and I couldn't find makeup that would work for me. And I just got this like gut whisper, which is how a lot of businesses start. For anyone listening to us right now, watching right now, it's like you have that whisper, you got to trust it and go for it. I launched the business. What I did not know is it would be, you know, everyone sees the outcome today, like, oh, wow, we sold it for over $1 billion cash to L'Oreal. And that's the outcome. But the journey was 3 years of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's, teetering on bankruptcy for years, and just really trying to tune in and go, should I give up? But I kind of had that knowing, and I chose to trust that knowing, got into retail, and it's really been love of customers that have spread it and built it. Yeah. But it's really a journey of just almost doubting myself out of my own destiny so many times because everyone who's been an entrepreneur knows it can be really hard.
You tackle a lot of that in this absolutely beautiful, fabulous book, Worthy. Something that I also think is just so incredible about you, you actually have 2 books now, and I understand you're even donating the proceeds. Like, you want to help other women be able to understand how to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you and I are talking, you know, 75% of women deal with imposter syndrome in the workplace, right?
Oh, that's
80% of girls and women don't believe they're enough. And when you believe you're not enough innately as a person, it's a lie. And so I think the time to unlearn these lies that we are not enough has come. And I wrote Worthy really for everyone who has some self-doubt to destroy a destiny to fulfill. So yeah, I'm donating all the proceeds. I'm just so passionate. There's a quote that says, we're best positioned in life to serve the person we once were. And for me, like the person I once was, that I still struggle every day is you know, believing I'm enough, believing I'm worthy of launching the business, of being in the room, of you know, leading a team of over 1,000. And I think that We can learn the skill set all day long. We can do all the things as women in business. But if deep down inside we don't believe we're enough or worthy, we will sabotage our success, because you cannot out-succeed your level of self-worth.
And it's the kind of book that you want to take notes in and on in the best way. Yeah. Okay, quickly, I do have to ask you, though, about this fabulous podcast.
Yay!
You're like friends with Oprah on this premiere episode. You have Oprah in this absolutely revealing, just intimate conversation, saying a lot of things that we hadn't heard before, which I imagine is sort of a precursor to what we will see throughout this season of your podcast. But tell me about launching this.
Yeah, Oprah is the first guest. We did a 3-hour sit-down interview.
3 hours with Oprah.
First time in her career. She said she's never done this. And we go there. We go deep on a lot of topics. All of us, every person watching, so many of us have this same story. Oprah could have had a very different life had she not learned to believe she was worthy of her hopes and dreams. And we go like deep into, how do you trust yourself? How do you hear your intuition? How do you really trust it? How do you live the dream your creator has for you versus listen to all the self-doubt in the world that will drown out your intuition? So I'm really excited, yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you listen to this one with Oprah, you are going to be shocked at how much she shares, and just hearing her heart. It's just so cool for all of us who do have imposter syndrome. If Oprah felt that way, I can get through this. Jamie, it was so great to have you here on Women Mean Business. One of my favorite guests so far. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful to meet you. Congrats on the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Turning now to some money news. Discount retail chain Dollar General has agreed to pay a hefty fine for alleged safety violations.
CNBC's Silvana Hanau joins us with that and other news. Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Hey, Joe. Good morning and happy Friday to you both. All right. Well, yeah, Dollar General has agreed to pay a $12 million fine and improve safety conditions at its stores. The Labor Department and OSHA reaching a settlement with the retailer, resolving allegations including blocked emergency exits and fire extinguishers, unsafe storage, and electrical panels that couldn't be accessed. Dollar General will be required to reduce inventory and improving stocking to prevent hazards and hire more safety managers. Meanwhile, X is working on a downvoting feature, which is similar to a dislike button. TechCrunch reports it will be used to improve how replies are ranked on the social media platform, formerly known as Twitter. That could prevent users from posting content specifically designed to make people mad and trying to generate dislikes as a form of engagement. And guys, it is National French Fry Day, and you can find plenty of deals at fast food chains everywhere. McDonald's, for one, is giving away a free order of medium fries through the app today with any purchase of $1 or more, and any size order of fries tomorrow with no purchase necessary. Members of Burger King's Royal Perks program can get a free order of any size fries with a purchase of $1 or more today and every Friday the rest of the year. If you buy a nacho fries Lovers Pass at Taco Bell for $10, you're entitled to a regular size order for the next month. And Wendy's has been running a free Fries on Friday promotion since April with any purchase in the app. Oh my God, fries are really good right now.
Wait, Taco Bell has fries?
I also, they're like nacho fries,
that
but
is news to me.
You're supposed to dip them in cheese, I think.
Ooh, I would totally do that.
There you go. All right.
That sounds amazing.
There we go. Breakfast on a Friday. All right. Savannah, thank you.
Thanks.
It's Friday. That means it is time for your can't miss list.
That's right. A lot of new movies and shows are out just in time for the weekend, so grab your popcorn and come right back. This is Morning News Now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.